Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piorski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most, here on The Rundown. 2A views, conservative news, and Craig, guess what day it is?
Mike. What day is it, Mike?
It's hump day.
Hump day!
It's hump day.
Hump day!
That's right, folks. It is Hump Day. This is the day in which we attempt to begin the weekend, sometimes with success, sometimes not. But hey, the fun is all in the trying.
That's it. Doing the hump. Doing the hump.
Doing the Humpty Hump.
Oh, how was your day gone, sir?
My day has gone just fine. You know, honestly, at first it seemed like it was going to be a relatively slow news day, and then, whoopah, all these news stories just dropped right in my lap.
In your face, just like that. Here you go.
In the face.
Yep. I'll face it. There's only been a few, but for those few days, it's very hard to find news, and we got lucky today.
Yes. As a matter of fact, we did. I got to tell you, and that's probably the majority of the time it takes in terms of producing this show is actually finding stuff worthy of talking about. Or finding stuff that is not worthy of talking about, but finding a way to make it worthy or at least interesting conversation.
Exactly. We stretch it. Stretch that topic.
Stretch it. But today, guess what? We have a full roster of stuff, so we're going to get right to it. But before we do, Mike is going to give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
I shall. Let's say hello to our good friends at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. Hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, you probably have one of their barrels and don't even know it. Well, now you can buy from them direct to get your next barrel for your next build or rebarrel your current rifle. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly, fighting the good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can be involved in California's future today. Check out the California Republican Assembly. If you want some awesome field gear, tactical gear, some web gear, get your butts over to uscombatgear.com. And, of course, if you want an awesome combat holster, a tactical holster, concealed holster, make a nice Valentine's Day gift over at hogholsters.com. That's HAWG holsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, for a nice little discount on your Valentine's Day gift.
Folks, these are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Help us, help you. Help us, help them, help you. Just go visit them, right? Follow the links in the description of this program, and make sure you tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. Also, please take a moment, like, share, subscribe. Encourage your friends to do the same. Let them know, hey, there's tons of ways to partake of The Rundown, whether you want to listen or whether you want to watch it. We're all over the place. All you have to do is partake. We don't care how you partake. We just care that you partake.
Yeah, one of my favorite mottos, just partake.
Just partake. All right, moving into today's top story. Today's top story has to do with January 6th, although this is something that you are not going to hear from the January 6th committee. That's right. The January 6th committee, or at least NBC News, this is what really got me. This kind of tripped me out. So NBC News actually interviewed the lead investigator for the January 6th committee, right? And, turns out, hold on, let me move this over here like this. Turns out that according to this investigator, January 6th could have easily, or at least the riotous, violent part of it could have been prevented had law enforcement, and we'll just say, Nancy Pelosi not thwarted law enforcement, had they actually taken the intelligence seriously. Here, check out the quick snippet on it.
The images of the attack on the Capitol stunned America and the world. And tonight, in an exclusive interview, the chief investigator of the January 6th committee says the government could have prevented it.
Had law enforcement agencies acted on the available intelligence, do you believe the attack on the Capitol could have been successfully repelled?
I think it would have been a lot different had law enforcement taken a more assertive, protective posture. the intel in advance was pretty specific, and it was enough, in our view, for law enforcement to have done a better job operationalizing a secure perimeter.
To you, he said he understands the vice president has no role.
Yes.
Okay.
Former federal prosecutor Tim Hafey conducted most of the big interviews for the committee's public hearings.
Law enforcement had a very direct role in contributing to really the failures, the security failures that led to the violence.
People familiar with the committee's work tell NBC News members downplayed that finding because they wanted to keep the focus on former President Trump. Committee members dispute that. Hafey would not discuss internal deliberations.
Was this an intelligence failure?
It was not an intelligence failure.
We just had folks in a speed circle, breach the line. We need backup.
Hafey says the committee found the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and other agencies did not act on the intelligence they had, including this online threat forwarded to Capitol Police January 5th, calling on thousands to go to Washington and help storm the Capitol. In a statement to NBC News, the FBI said it sent all the intelligence it had to the Capitol Police. DHS and Capitol Police say they've taken steps to make sure threat intelligence is better analyzed and shared.
Hafey told us he agrees with the committee's conclusion about Mr. Trump's role in sparking the riot, but he hopes the focus on the former president doesn't ease the pressure on federal agencies to fix what went wrong.
All right, so here's the interesting thing to me, Mike. Clearly, when they said they sent it to the Capitol Police. So the Capitol Police knew, the FBI knew. And by the way, if the Capitol Police knew, so did Nancy Pelosi, right? So did the leader of the pro tem of the Senate, which would be Chuck Schumer. They're the ones who, according to people interiorly, they're the ones who refused to allow the National Guard, which, by the way, 20,000 troops were approved by Donald Trump to be there in order to help be there for security. But none of this made it into the, produced for TV melodrama that was the January 6th committee.
Right. Exactly right. Now, Craig, you got to ask yourself the question, with Nancy Pelosi, did she comprehend what was told to her? How many times do we have to watch her up on the dais there, answer one question and then somebody whisper in her ear and she completely changes her answer because she doesn't have a clue what she's doing anymore. That's what happens to some people when you get up to an age where senility starts to set in, and she clearly has that the same way as the president does. I think they're going to use the same defense for her that they're going to use for Joe Biden when it gets to the point where he has a catastrophe on his hands that doesn't get acted upon. They're going to say, oh, well, they really are not too good in the brain anymore. So that's the reason. It wasn't her fault. It was she didn't understand.
Well, Mike, what's interesting, though, is that we can now add this to the list of things that we know that we said over a year ago was in fact the case. That we knew that law enforcement knew. We knew that they had the data and the information and they had the intelligence to know that they probably needed to make sure they beefed up security. And they chose not to. And in this particular case, and once again, he won't talk about the committee hearings because we know that this was covered up. We know that this was intentionally not included in the January 6th committee. Yet and still, guess what? Now, all of a sudden, it's reality. Mainstream media is reporting on it months, if not a year later.
Yeah, and I like how the investigator there at the end put in there that the President Trump helped to spark the event. If you notice, he didn't say, because he had all opportunity to, the president directed this, the president planned this, the president's responsible for this. It said that the president's comments helped us spark it. Well, guess what? That's what happens when you motivate people, when you tell people we need to have a call. That's what he did. He went there and gave one of his normal speeches to rile people up to be involved in their government and the process. He didn't say he directed them to go and cause violence.
Right, exactly. And anyway, the point is that it goes back to what his assignment was, which was to blame Donald Trump. And that's what they're doing in this piece right here. What they're doing in this piece, they're trying to reveal that law enforcement played a role, but they're not tying the connect dots as to why didn't the Capitol Police have more security there? Why didn't they have more people? Why didn't they have the National Guard? Because Nancy Pelosi told them no.
Yeah, there's your answer right there.
Yeah, but truth be damned, right? Truth be damned.
Yep.
Speaking of the truth be damned, the lead prosecutor and I won't call him chief, but the lead prosecutor, the lead law enforcement, well, it was not law enforcement, I'm sorry.
The director of the
The
ATF.
director of the ATF, Mr. Dettelbeck, is now talking about, now that there have been a rash of incidents involving firearms, especially in places like the state of California. Now you've got the ATF director, Mr. Steve Dettelbeck. Now he's talking about enforcing gun laws amid surge of mass shootings. Now, mind you, what he is talking about here is not enforcing laws that would have prevented any of these shootings from happening. The reason why he's not talking about that, Mike, is because at least 3 or 4 of these shootings have occurred in the state of California, where we have all of the laws that they want at the federal level, we already have here in the state of California. And guess what? There are mass shootings taking place here on top of that. And one has to beg the question, Mike, what laws, I mean, what exactly does he plan on doing? Because we said we're going to do everything, quote unquote, within our power to enforce laws and regulations in order to prevent gun violence. Now, I think the biggest argument that many of us are having is, what does within our power actually mean?
Right. What do they want, Craig? They want one more law because, with one more law, they can get one more law. And with one more law, they'll get one more law because they think one more law is going to make a difference. And it won't make a difference in the violence because it's not the law-abiding citizens that's committing the violence. It's the criminals that don't care about how many laws you put in place. What is to be concerned about is when he says everything within their power, Craig, that's the fight going on right now, isn't it? Is that the ATF continues to redefine what their role is and give themselves more power after reinterpreting, administrative code into law and start enforcing it. That's the big concern here, is that he's come out and said, we're going to continue to break the law in order to force these unconstitutional laws.
I think you hit the nail on the head right there. The idea is that they are going to insinuate that they have the right to basically, when they say interpret the law, they mean change the law in order to fit whatever narrative it is that they want to project. So, for example, even though quote unquote home built firearms are used in almost no crimes, they're going to continue to go after. They're going to continue to go after people who want to home build firearms and make possession of them a federal crime. They're going to continue to try and ban standard capacity magazines. Once again, by redefining, going back to what is an assault weapon, they're going to go and try to redefine it. Same thing with whether it's bump stocks, no matter what it is, they're going to try and redefine it, even if it is defined in statute, such that they can enforce regulations as though they were laws.
Yeah, that's exactly what they continue to do, and that's the scariest part about this. Like we said, is that he's just now told you he's going to continue to reinterpret and enforce his own interpretation of laws and rules.
And this is the thing, and this is why eventually the courts are going to have to decide that there's got to be some sort of penalty for continually violating the Constitution. There's got to be eventually. Eventually, they're going to have to decide that there's got to be some sort of a penalty for folks in the administrative state who are overstepping their bounds. And by the way, to those in Congress who basically are shirking their responsibilities, and in many cases actually now promoting laws that are vague, such that these administrative agencies can have their way with the legislation.
Right, and we know from the Supreme Court case back in June from West Virginia versus EPA that the Supreme Court has said that federal agencies cannot do this. It's illegal. It's unlawful. They cannot do this. So that's already in place, and I'm sure that will be examined with the current case with the arm braces. But you're exactly right. What we need is that extra piece of teeth to stop them from creating these unconstitutional methods.
Right, because it's all they're doing is they're taking up court time and taxpayer dollars in order to shoot down stuff, and because they're going to continue to push it through the process. Because guess what? The money to defend their unconstitutional actions doesn't come out of their own pocket; comes out of our pocket as taxpayers.
That's right.
Anyway, moving right along. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that Kamala Harris, the Vice President of the United States, was appointed by the president to be the border czar. Although I think she's been near the border one time. No, I don't even know if she's actually made it to the border. But anyway, so realizing that the federal border czar is AOL, AWOL, not AOL, AWOL. Anyway, AWOL. There you go. Is AWOL. Governor Abbott of Texas is tapping his own border czar to accelerate the building of the Texas border wall. So what they're basically saying is, look, okay, we get it. You're not going to do anything to try. You're not going to build the federal border wall. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to build our own wall. And so with that, we've now got a border czar there in Texas.
Yeah, very nice. Where'd you go? There you are. All right. Yep. Very, very nice. Every time I think of Kamala, doing some border work, I think of her standing out there on the border in South Carolina at the south of the border, the roadside exhibit. I think she's just wandering around over there in South Carolina. And if anybody's ever been to the East Coast up and down 95, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, listen, it's great to see that the governor there has done this. He absolutely has the need for this. If the feds want to continue to pull out and stop guarding the border, well, Governor Abbott's going to make sure Texas, the longest border with Mexico, by the way, is going to continue to have their own enforcement and controls, both via personnel and via infrastructure to try and stem the flow of 200,000 immigrants a month coming across the border.
So the guy that they tapped, his name is Mike Banks, and it says he recently retired from the Border Patrol and was appointed by Abbott to collaborate with Texas National Guard, state troopers, and the Texas Facilities Commission to accelerate the building of the border wall in Texas, said the Texas Tribune. Abbott said that Banks, a 20-year veteran of Border Patrol, is the perfect choice to oversee Texas's fight against the surge of illegal immigration, lethal drugs, and deadly weapons flowing into our state and nation. Banks said he intends to make the state of Texas the least desirable place for illegal immigration to cross. I don't think it's going to be that difficult. We just need to be aggressive, according to the publication. The point here, Mike, is that, once again, it's about being a deterrent. It's about making it desirable. And it's about doing it visibly and publicly. So people are like, yeah, no, I'm not going to travel all the way to Texas so that I have to cross a moat and get through barbed wire and climb over a 90-foot, it's not going to be 90 feet, but I climb over an almost insurmountable border wall. They're going to decide if they're going to try and cross, they're going to go to other places. But that's what Trump did. Trump made it both publicly and actually very undesirable for people to come to the border and try and cross. And guess what? That made it so that people just didn't come.
Yeah, right. It's about creating the deterrent, right? Why do you lock your car doors? To keep the honest people honest, right? If these people are going to try to come into the United States, let's make it more difficult for them to come into Texas. That's what the governor has said. Listen, he's already got the deck stacked against him, right? Because the majority of the routes from Mexico leading into the United States come through Texas. You've got a lot come through California down there in TJ, but that's one route. Look at all the routes that come up the eastern and central portion of Mexico straight to Texas. So he's definitely, like I said, he's got the deck stacked against him. So he's got to try and make it wholly unattractive so they'll go elsewhere.
Funny how that works. Look, if you deter people, if you make it unattractive, people are less likely to come. If you make it attractive, like the state of California does, and say, hey, come on in, we'll give you free education, we'll give you free health care, we'll give you a place to stay, we'll give you some money, we'll give you a driver's license, we'll make sure you got work, then we wonder why why people come here. Look, Democratic Party, and I'm sorry I know that there are people in Democratic Party who have issues, who are like, well, I don't believe in this. Well, guess what? Too many of the people that you have elected in your leadership do believe in open borders and are part of the group that are inviting people to come into our country illegally, to illegally cross into the country. I mean, dude, you take, for example, this app that they have. It literally is, all it is, it is, okay, reserve your time to illegally enter into our country. And that's pretty much all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Craig, hear me out. This is what I think we should do. All right. We've already got, what 100-yard buffer along the border, right, that they use for the border wall and access control points and all of that. What we should do is between Texas, and I'm sure they could sign up the folks over in Arizona, maybe even in New Mexico, take that 100-foot buffer and build them a Disney World style monorail. All right. And just have that monorail run high-speed trains all day long to California, and they could come into Texas, get on the monorail, and just go straight to California, and they're California's problem now.
No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. You guys may like that, and the liberals here in California may like that, but yeah, no go, no bueno.
Greg, it's time to load up the truck and move out of Beverly. It's time to head back east.
Nope, I'm not. I am not a cut and run conservative. I'm gonna be here as long as I can afford to stay here and fight. I will be here and fight.
There's a difference between cut and run and living in a house that's burning down around you.
Yeah, well, my house ain't burnt down around me yet. So,
well, you need to look around a little bit better.
Well, some people may be willing to cut and run on their homes. I am not. There you go. On that note, IRS. By the way, did you guys know that the IRS is racist? Well, I mean, according to liberals' own standards, the IRS is clearly racist because a new report that has just come out is telling us that currently, even before you add in the 87,000 new employees or new IRS agents, that African Americans, black folks in the United States are 3 times more likely to be audited than anyone else. Which is kind of odd when you consider that, according to Biden, they're supposed to be I mean, they're supposed to love black people, right? They would never audit more black people than needed to be audited, would they?
Well, Craig, they had to have something else to do with their extra manpower. Now that we know that they got caught under the Obama administration going after conservative organizations. Once they got called out on that and were unable to go after conservatives, they had to pick another target. So why not black Americans? We know how the Democrat Party really feels about black Americans. We'll make all sorts of promises to you and never deliver to get your vote every year. So why not go after them? They're still going to vote for us blindly.
Well, exactly. Like, one of the things that was noted in a report was that according to the Congressional Budget Office, upwards of 78% of the revenue from the new audits, right, under Biden's Inflation Reduction Act would be from families pulling in less than $200,000 per year. Now, that directly contradicts what they said. They said, well, they're going to be going after multimillionaires and billionaires. That's who they're going to be auditing. Well, Mike, it sounds to me like if you make $200,000 under $200,000 a year, you're not a multimillionaire or billionaire.
Well, and you know why they go after them, Craig? Because they don't have tax lawyers sitting around to fight the case. These are people that are easily, challenged by IRS agent and rules and interrogation techniques and threats, and will comply. So why not go after the weak?
Kind of funny, they always point to Donald Trump, and now that they've got his taxes released, you notice so far nobody has said that he has done anything illegal. He hasn't violated one tax law, not one.
Nope.
So they're not going to be getting any extra money from him. So where do you think they're going to be getting that money from?
Exactly right.
That's who they're going to be getting it from.
I'm white. They're going to get it from you. Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, according to this study, yeah, chances are they're going to get it from me.
Yeah.
Honey, call the tax attorney, call the accountant, get our stuff together.
That's it. Load up the truck, Craig. Don't forget to move out of Beverly.
There you go. All right, now we're going to move on to our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. You can find them at hogholsters.com. Get your tactical concealed carry holster today from Hog Holsters. And remember to use the discount code, The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your holster today. We're going to start with this first one dealing, and this is, now I'm sure you have heard all of the calls that are referring to the incident that happened with Tyree Nichols, where basically he was, for lack of a better term, beaten to death by cops. I mean, I got no other way to put it. But now they're trying to refer to it all as institutional racism. And in essence, what they're doing is they've got kind of those glasses, like from the movie, what was the movie it was called? They Live? What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, the picture here is Spider-Man, but yes, like the movie They Live, an excellent example. Yes, sir.
Yeah, where you put on the glasses and you see the glasses through CNN. So here you got Tobey Maguire, who's got his glasses off, and he notices and recognizes that the officers that are involved in this particular incident are all black. But then he puts on his CNN glasses, and they're all seen not just as white, but they're all seen as Mark. What's his name? Chauvin.
Yep.
I was about to say Mark Furman, but I guess I'm dating myself.
Yeah. Somebody's got to.
Dang. Oh, that was bad. Okay. So then following along those same lines, this next one has more, maybe not along the same lines, but this next one has to do with our president-in-chief. As you may know, he has already announced, or at least has kind of announced that he is strongly considering running for president, or at least he hasn't ruled out running for president. Many reports from inside the administration is that he's looking to run for president in 2024. And as he is planning on running for president, as he is piloting the ship to 2024, Mike, what are those jumping off the back of his ship?
Rats. Those are swamp rats right there.
Yes, those would be swamp rats that are jumping off of the Biden ship. Now, the only question is, right now, they're just jumping into the ocean. What possible ship could they be jumping into? I'm trying to think of a Democrat that actually has a positive enough reputation that's not a left-wing loony. I mean, the only reason Biden had stood a shot was because his reputation was not as a left-wing loony. But who's legitimate in the Democratic Party who's not a left-wing loony that actually has a shot at getting the nomination?
Well, the key word, Craig, right, is reputation. Because if you're looking for a Democrat with a good reputation, you're not going to find one. Although if you can find one that's not identified as, like you said, a left-wing loony, that's the one they'll pull.
There you go. All right, and finally, in honor once again of the president and his recent document gate or garage gate or Corvette gate, however you want to refer to it, where he kept his documents stored in the garage with his Corvette. This just in, Chevrolet has announced that the new model Corvette will come standard with a classified document storage container.
Yeah, might as well take advantage of the publicity, right? No publicity is bad publicity, so Chevrolet is going to act on it.
Yes, they are. And with that, we're just about done. But before we go today, Mike, it's once again time to make sure to remind folks about our sponsors.
We shall. Let's say hello to our good friends at hitmanindustries.net, hitmanindustries.net. They've got rifle and pistol calibers available in all sorts of lengths for your barrel. Let's check out the California Republican Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Get involved in California's future today. And, of course, if you want some awesome field gear, some web gear, tactical gear, go see our friends at uscombatgear.com.
All right, folks, once again, these are our sponsors. Go visit them. Links in the description of this program. Visit them and tell them that the guys over at The Rundown sent you. And with that, once again, we have another show in the books. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will be back tomorrow on Thirsty Thursday. You folks have a good rest of your day.